What's up everybody, welcome back. We are through another expansion in the Final Fantasy XIV playthrough, which means it's time for the infamous character tier list. Now this time around, I'm going to make sure that I get all the characters in this time, because last time I actually missed Alisaie because like the site had a weird uploading issue or whatever. There's probably still gonna be characters that you guys are like, oh, where is so-and-so? I don't care. Okay, one more thing before we get into it. I've reorganized some of these characters so they're in like some sort of a semi-chronological order so that we can drop like a big one, like the main characters, every now and again to keep things spicy. You see what I'm saying? As you know, it'll also help my watch time. We start off with Tataru. Where would Tataru go in this? Now, Tataru didn't really have like a big role in this. She was just kind of like holding down the fort in the Rising Stones, just being, you know, Miss Secretary. So I gotta put Tataru pretty low. And this is coming from someone who loves Tataru. You can go watch my previous videos. I'll link them in the description. I'll start out with a C. She's like mid-tier this expansion. Didn't really do much. So yeah. Next up, we got Krile. I know this isn't chronological, but these two are kind of similar. They were back in the source a lot doing that stuff. Krile, though, I will say, did have a relatively larger role than Tataru. The whole situation with Dawn's respite and everything, and she was working her little hands and feet off helping everybody stay alive. So for that, I gotta like read her one higher than Tataru. I think I'm really excited to see how she plays in to Endwalker with like the forum in Sharlayan and all that stuff. But I mean, like, who doesn't love Krile, you know? And so we reach our first new character of the expansion with my favorite bun girl of all the bun girls in the list, Lena, and I think everybody's favorite bun girl as well. I'm on the fence whether to put Lena like A or B. If I put her in B, I'm going to get burned at the stake, I think. We'll put her in an A for now. She might drop down to like a very high B, but we'll see. I think what was great about Lena was, firstly, that accent. Holy shit. Second, she's a bun girl. Holy shit. But most importantly, we kind of got to see like a lot more of an emotional side of her character. And she wasn't like that deep a character in terms of her past and stuff, but we got like a little bit, and that little bit was super effective. Like the whole basically granddaughter of the Exarch, that alone was able to like create enough emotional storytelling that really paid off at the end of 5.3. So that scene as well, I know the one that everybody says, you know, the voice acting, holy shit, the emotional scene where we just done defeating the Sin Eaters, you know, she's lost so many of her own soldiers, the Crystarium, and she has her big emotional moment. That was a great scene as well. So I think right now she's a good A. To balance things out eventually though, I think we may need to move her a bit lower. You know, Lena being a bun alone, like, might just be an S tier, honestly. All right, so next up we got Alisaie. I feel like Alisaie didn't evolve that much, despite having like a really big role with the next two characters up at the very beginning of Shadowbringers. And then towards the end with the Gabu stuff, that wasn't really much of a change in character that we saw since really ever. Like, it's very similar to the end of Coils with Alisaie, you know? It doesn't really feel like that much of a change. Though I did love how we brought back some of the elements with the whole Gabu stuff and threw them in there at the end of the post patches. So it's hard with Alisaie because I feel like she's such a main character that you want to put her high, but then is she like really deserving of it? I think Alisaie right now for me is like a B. She's pretty solid, but like, does she reach into the upper echelons yet? I don't know. I feel like not for her this expansion. Yeah, anyway, in relation to that, we had Tesleen, my wife, S tier. Next we had Halric. Okay. Tesleen, as much as as funny as it was, Tesleen's like a C, possibly a D. I would say C because she had like some depth to her. We got a little bit of like her history and like what she was doing a little bit done there. She was working towards a very noble cause and selfless cause. I feel like that propels her just a little bit higher than would-be NPC that like just serves a purpose for like creating the welcome to the Shadowbringers moment, right? I did really like how they referenced her again in Holminster Switch with, I think, the second boss, the first boss. Yeah, I mean, I it's whatever. She wasn't the best character. She wasn't the worst character. She was just like, eh. Halric, is kind of in a similar boat. Some of these characters, I often wonder why I even add them, but it's kind of that you have to. They're staples of the expansion. I would have to say I put Halric at a D. I know that's kind of shitting on the downtrodden, I guess, but the kid barely said a word in like 1.5 expansions. Actually, if you count the patches, basically 2 expansions worth. He said like 3 words. I like the imagery that the character brought, this kind of like pale, you know, shadowy aesthetic that they had going on with some of the shots at the beginning. But apart from that, I was like, I don't know. He's not really that good a character. And then we arrive at the other side of things, where we went in search for Alphinaud in Eulmore. I'm going to initially put Alfie in A, not just because A for Alfie, but because I think we actually saw a lot more character growth with him this expansion. We kind of saw him learn a lot more. He definitely matured. There were fewer outbursts. There were fewer soapbox kind of situation, speechy things that he was giving off. He was a lot less lectury, and he was a lot more thoughtful and controlled, I want to say. He valued a lot more his friends and the lessons that he'd learned from his previous kind of escapades and failures and errors and all of that stuff. We even get the whole Grand Company of Eorzea quest in, I think, 5.4, maybe it was 5.5. He's definitely becoming more of a young man, possessing more leadership qualities, which naturally I think he always wanted, but he was never able to understand how to actually act like a leader. Now he's naturally, through all of his errors, getting to that point. So yeah, I think he had a lot more growth this expansion. So yeah, A for Alfie. And that brings us to the big boy himself, or should I say the big baby himself? I wouldn't even call him a boy. Valtteri was another character that I really liked the imagery of, like this big, like, obese, ugly thing of a character, gorging in his chamber at the top, surrounded by sin eaters and lions and stuff as well. I did enjoy, after, you know, killing innocents, we got with Valtteri like this father-son backstory thing, and like, it was nice. It made me feel a little bit bad for him, but at the same time, Valtteri was a disgusting thing. I think for now as a character, I would put Valtteri in like a B. I don't think I can put Valtteri below Krile. Even though we all love Krile, I think Valtteri for Shadowbringers, the base expansion of Shadowbringers, was a really big character, not just in size. Haha. Impudent, what does he say? Impudent worms of the Crystarium. I loved that. It was hilarious. But sticking with Eulmore, we've got the patrons, of course, the adorable, in my opinion, Julia Chai. F. No, we cannot put Julia in F. I would put Julia higher than Valtteri. I love her. I initially thought that she was going to be another one of these like horrible characters. She was initially a little scary. She came on pretty strong, right? Eventually she was just the sweetest thing. You know, she was just the sweetest character that you could ever want. She was filled with motherly love. She was an awesome wife, supportive, completely enthralled with her love. Yeah, like how can you not like her? She didn't have any depth to her, but she was just there to serve that purpose. You just wanted her to give you a hug. Maybe not quite as hard as she would give hugs to other people, but you know, maybe like a softer hug. Okay, Chainuz. Mayor Chainuz. I would rate him lower than Valtteri. He helped us out a lot with the Daedalus, Stoneworks, Talos, all that stuff. Although he did have the depth, I found myself not caring that much. Like, I was a little bit impatient with him as a character. Okay, so, like I said in the beginning, we're gonna sprinkle in some unchronological big names to keep things flowing, you know, keep things spicy, keep people watching, because that's what pays the bills. So, we have, arguably, one of the biggest characters, if not the biggest character, of the entire expansion, at least the 5.0 portion. It's the Warrior of Light, or Darkness, or kind of Azem, but not, and Sundered, but not, and it's Ardbert. It's just gonna be inevitable, right? It's just gotta be like that. Like, he was the focus of the entire expansion. Ever since Heavensward, this whole thing had been building. The Warriors of Darkness, they came from another world to save theirs, that sacrificed everything, and they still couldn't save their world. And you see how he goes from this disgruntled, hopeless guy in despair who haunts me every single night I go to bed. But eventually, you know, he sees things, and he sees how we, the Warrior of Light / Darkness, starts to like change things, and the hope that we all have as the Scions and everybody else and the Crystarium, people gathering together. He comes around and he finally understands that his part and his friend's part, as Minfilia said, the Oracle of Light said, their time had not yet come. Their role was to keep up the hope. And that's exactly what he ended up doing. You're designed, and he acts like you're meant to hate him throughout all of Heavensward. He kind of disappears in Stormblood, comes towards the end of the patches there, I believe. He was one of the 2 characters that made me literally cry in this expansion, so I don't think that I can put him anywhere else other than S, like, because he's me. I gotta rate myself highly. Anyway, Ranjit. Oh shit. It's Ranjit. I was disappointed with Ranjit. I thought Ranjit was gonna be this fucking badass guy, and he was at the start. Then he just like died before Mount Gulg, and you're like, I didn't even know like who he was as a character. Like, you get the basics that he would kind of take care of Minfilia, all of the Minfilias, and raise them and train them. But aside from that, it's like, oh, okay, we got like nothing else, or no depth to him whatsoever. I was disappointed with him, I'm not gonna lie, like probably in C. So then we had the guy who fought him a bunch of times and almost died to him. You gotta give it to him, like he nearly did kill Thancred. I think Thancred, I gotta put him in an S as well. By the way, I'm gonna move Lena down. I don't think Lena is, I know she's a lovely bun, but I don't think she's entirely deserving of the S tier. S is the S of the S, you know? She wasn't quite there, so in fact, Lena's a B now, guys. B for bun, sorry. I just can't in good faith put her higher than Alisaie. Anyway, back to Thancred. Holy shit, man. Thancred goes from like this chip on shoulder, depressed guy to finally accepting what had to be done. Letting go, in a way. Because I feel like the phrase of Thancred's journey during Shadowbringers was letting go. There are some things that you gotta let go. You can't just control them all the time and enjoy them while they're there. Because when you think about it, his story goes all the way back to 1.0, the whole like cinematic thing or whatever with Minfilia in Ul'dah, and then we get even more of that at the end of A Realm Reborn into Heavensward. She leaves, she goes and becomes the Oracle of Light, the Word of the Mother, and he was distraught about that, and then he goes into like full-on depresso mode, doesn't speak to anybody. He just goes, And then he's in the first. He just doesn't want Minfilia to go. But eventually, again, realizes that he has to. He has to let his Minfilia go. And we get that scene where he's lying on the ground. He comes to the realization that he's happy that he even just had her in his life at all. And then we get like the whole other part of that, the whole other side of that, where we have Rian and the Dadcrid part, right? Which was a whole other like journey for him. Though I think in some ways very conjoined to his other journey. But that, again, was one of the things that got me as well towards the end of 5.3 when we were all saying goodbye, and, you know, he's saying goodbye to Rian and him being proud of her and all of that. That was a really great moment. It was a really great emotional moment. Thancred has become such a staple of the game, and I hope he doesn't die in Endwalker. That would be sad. Now, Rian, she's kind of like S material, but is she really? I wasn't like a huge fan of Rian's character progression, I guess. She felt too anime to me. I'm gonna say it. She felt too fucking anime. She felt like I need to like overcome my tribulations and become a better person and inspire everybody else. And she goes on this whole speech during the Oracle of Light scene with Minfilia where we're in this place. And it was a little bit like, okay, Rian, we get it. I think she's sweet and she was very timid at the beginning. And of course we get a lot of like character growth with her. Aside from that, like, she was a little bit annoying, man. She was a little bit annoying to me. I know she's young. I know she's having a lot of stuff thrown at her, of course, but like, I don't know. There were times I was wishing like, please, Rian, can you like get your shit together here? Can you man up? You know, Just man up, Rain. I would say like she's pretty much same level as Alfie this expansion. I know, again, she played a big role and stuff, but yeah, I just don't feel like she's S. Up next, we have the absolute Giga Chad Astroman, Uri. He's a fucking liar, dude. He is a liar. The biggest monstrous lie you could ever come up with, man. Our entire like purpose for being the first was obfuscated by this man, which is why I also gotta put him in A, because I think that made his character fucking awesome. He continued on the trend that he had in the Heavensward patches, where he was like double crossing people and playing like this 5D chess game. That's why I love him. And I know that people hate his dialogue. Me too. And I wish he would cut it down by like 3 paragraphs at least. Like just give us 1 paragraph as opposed to 4. And, you know, maybe make the words a little more accessible to those of us with fewer IQ points. I still like, it's Uri, man. You gotta love him. He's such a unique character, and he was just hiding away in this little cottage for like 5, 6, 7 years, however many it was. I think he would at least be a B tier alone because he's just an Astroman, and who doesn't love Astromans? So yeah, sticking with the whole Ilmeg theme, we have my beautiful branch slash king, queen, I'm not sure the gender specifics, but we have Feoul. Now, Feoul, I may have to put in A as well. Feoul, maybe not A. Actually, I did really like Feoul. I think the whole Scottish thing that they had going on was like really, really unique for the Fae, and the sassiness and everything. I personally loved it. The kind of comfort character, always defensive of the Warrior of Light, the sapling, and just the comedic relief that that brought was very valuable to me in this expansion, despite really not liking the Ilmeg kind of questing sequence when you originally get there. I thought the fact that they bring Feoul in to like handle things a little bit was pretty cool. Then the whole Titania sequence was awesome as well. I'm gonna stick with A for now. Okay, and our final character of the Ilmeg area was Seto. Seto was a really surprising character to me. I did not expect to be like that emotionally attached to this random Amuro. Like, it just felt like it was going to be another side quest kind of thing before you get to the real good stuff. But the link to Ardbert, I thought, again, they were still just like trying to link him in some way, and it wouldn't amount to much. But then eventually it was just like, wow. Seto reminds me of just like a little old man who's seen it all, wants peace and quiet, found a friend, a lifelong friend, and then that friend just like left or died or whatever, and they never got a chance to really tell them how much they cared. I feel like that's a really basic but potent way of telling Seto's tale. As much as I love Seto, I think Rin was just more prominent in this story. If Seto was around more, he would have probably been higher. So moving right along, as she would wish we do so, we have everybody's favorite cat girl, at least my favorite cat girl. I would marry Y'shtola in a heartbeat. And if you want to know why, go check out my throne wish list. Link in the description below. Don't look at it in work, is all I will say. I think Y'shtola, just straight off the bat, had the biggest change in character between expansions. It was like very striking that I even had to title the episode, the video. I think it was like, wow, she changed or something, right? Like, she was like a totally different person. She'd gained so much more sass. She was much more controlling, much more pragmatic than she ever was. And a little bit bitchy, but like, eventually she warmed to us. I love the change in outfit. I just gotta say it. I think the way that she's written, where she's almost like becoming more and more aware of the inevitability of her becoming Matoya, and in a way still kind of reeling against it, but towards the end of the expansion almost just embracing it. You know, she just sits and has her tea and says, I'll be around to help you guys whenever I'm finished my tea. She's becoming an old lady in like a very elegant way. She's assumed the mom duties. Not that we don't have Minfilia anymore. Y'shtola's gotta be high on my list. I love Y'shtola. Am I gonna get hated for this? Is Runar... Okay, no, I'm not gonna get hated for this. I'm going to put Runar. I'm gonna put Runar in like a C. Runar was like whatever. I know a lot of people love him. I don't know. I I didn't really get him. He felt very simpy. He felt very like forced. Outside of the whole funeral part, which I really enjoyed. Yeah, it just felt like he was there to benefit Y'shtola. And obviously I don't like that because she's my girl. And probably like 14,000 other people's girls. Anyway, yeah, up next we've got the Buns. With the introduction of the Viera in Shadowbringers, we of course had an entire city of them, which is my favorite place in the game as of yet. I'm going to put Almut in our first F. I don't know what to say, man. She just like had barely any personality apart from one line. Basically a quote of her mother. So it wasn't even hers. It was like history is learned, not lived, I think. And that was like the crux of her character. She looks fantastic, but apart from that, like she wasn't really anything. She just handed out quests. Though the other two characters in Wemit and Seemit, they had like a little bit more personality. They were a little more bubbly, a little more fun, and they're cuties, you know? I think Wemit, she probably had like the bubbliest of characters. I would say Wemit's probably like a C. Seemit, despite being an absolute cutie, probably below Tesleen. But yeah, you gotta put them in because they're like the characters in the expansion, whatever, blah, 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 blah. All right, back to the formula. We've got our main boy, the next big character that we've got sprinkled in, Emet Selch. I don't really think we can do much aside from this. I don't know if I put him higher than Ard, given how far Ard's history with the Warrior of Light goes back. But Emet is a very close second in my eyes. I think Emet is such an incredible villain, if you could even call him that. I suppose you have to, but the ambiguity of his character is exactly what makes him so perfect, because he plays this theatrical role of like, I am an evil Ashian and this is all inevitable, so I'm just gonna be like your friend for the whole expansion until we get to the end where he turns into this fucking monstrous Hades god primal beast Ashian thing out of nowhere, which is a little bit weird, but still it was cool. But man, that story, the Amarot reveal, the whole history of that, the Ashians, everything about it, the murals, man, what a phenomenal, like that to me is absolute peak storytelling in an MMO. Even just down to the very tiny character details where he would walk like hunched over, carrying that weight. The idea of rejoining and getting everybody back. As well, looking at his hair, you had the split between the light and the dark, like that. The little necklace thing that he had, it was just amazing. All these little things. He came off with some incredible one-liners as well. Like, you gotta give it to him. The one where he was like, I don't believe you're a person, so like murdering you all, genociding you all is like, okay. Because his justifications for things really bring up the question, like, was it okay what he was doing, what he was fighting for from his perspective? I mean, what makes it any more or less right or wrong than what we've done over the years? And we would probably do the same thing, right? If we were in the same situation. I think even Y'shtola admitted that at one point, at least to Elidibus, was that we probably would have done exactly the same thing were we in their position. I just wanted to stay in Amarot and explore all of these people's history. They were so endearing. The ancients were amazing people. And I just felt like such a warm place despite having such a tragic story. And as we are in Amarot, I think this introduction was so, I don't even know the word. I feel like impactful, or at least will be impactful. Hythlodaeus brought with the whole like endearing and warm qualities of the ancients. He knew that he was not like real. He was aware of who we were, that we walked with another by our side, I think he said. I don't know. I feel like he's going to be a very important character. This relates to a lot of the questions I have. Just, I can't wait to see how these like new characters and the ancients and everything come into play with this like ending of the world situation, this apocalypse coming. I'm not sure if I can like rank him higher than just based on that alone, but I do want to make a note that I think he's going to be a mega big character. But yeah, kind of a weird one to place. I didn't really know where I was going to put Gaia. I did want to include her because of the raid was a relevant part of the story, I guess. You know, her being Lawgriff is like a pretty important thing. She was a bitch. Let's be serious. She was a bitch. She came around, but that was only because mainly of Reen. I think Gaia actually plays below Vothri. Yeah, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna put Gaia like lower. I didn't think her story was bad. I just felt like they couldn't find a place elsewhere to put it, so it had to be put in the raids, and it felt a little bit rushed during Eden's Promise. Beck Lug was another new character. I think Beck Lug is probably gonna be like a high C, very mid character. I wasn't the biggest fan. I think Beck Lug was cute, but yeah, I don't know. That's it. One of the biggest characters in the expansion as well, and even throughout all of the previous expansions, Elidibus. His story again goes all the way back. I think even to A Realm Reborn possibly, but I always had just a persistent question as to what his role was going to be, this emissary character, this white-robed mysterious emissary. And finally, we got our answers. In an emotional farewell, I think, again, the whole ancient Ashians and the Amnesis Anadir cutscene stuff with the convocation and his duty, and man, like, it's so like, this stuff is so heavy, but it's the stuff that I love. Like, every time we went in there, I was giddy. I really just wanted to soak in as much of that story as I could. The summoning of Hydaelyn and Zodiark, and Elidibus becoming the heart of Zodiark, much like Vina, I think his name was, the leader of the Separatists, I guess. I think Elidibus probably... I have to actually knock down Emet-Selch here a little bit, because I think Elidibus stretches further back and just has more of an impact, and really helped explain a lot more of how the convocation came to be and what was happening back then during the final days, and Zodiark and Hydaelyn, how all that stuff got linked, and then who he was and why he ended up in the position that he did. And eventually, you know, it was revealed that he was a kid. They were so desperate to save their star that Elidibus was the one who was given the duties of carrying out like the will of Zodiark and eventually rejoining everyone. The fact that he was so obsessed even to the very last, and the fact that he was a kid because of it, makes it all the sadder, I think. But yeah, it gives a lot of meaning to all that has come before, and I think all that is about to happen going into Endwalker. Yeah, moving on to just another big character. We just got like two back to back. We've got G'raha / the Crystal Exarch. Again, we got another edition, boys. We got another edition. Oh, this one's tough. This one's tough for me because I really loved the story of the Exarch and everything that he went through. When it was all revealed to us in the end, it was such an incredible tying together of everything that we've been through the raids, taking the time travel stuff, the Omega stuff, the Crystal Tower stuff, and just the fact that he was like always referencing him being a young boy and looking to the Warrior of Light, and the idea of the Warrior of Light was like his inspiration for adventure. It was so, that ending was so goddamn emotional, man. I don't know, they're all kind of really close. It's so hard, man. It's so hard to differentiate between these great ass characters. Okay, moving along, we got a couple like filler characters, I guess. Matoya. Listen, we love Matoya, but we gotta start filling out the lower ranks, and that's kind of what these characters are gonna be. Matoya didn't do much. She was just Matoya for a little bit of, I think, a singular patch. And yeah, I don't really have much else to say about Matoya. I'm gonna speed through these so we can get to the good ones at the end. We've got Kane. I would put Kane at like Kane's probably like a low C, I guess. Like Merle probably there as well. The Alliance leaders didn't really play that much of a part. I think you're gonna put Nanamu in an F. I'm sorry, Nanamu. Rauban as well. Oh god, I think I have to put Rauban in F. They didn't do shit, man. They did nothing. They were in like 2 quests. I think I put Merle higher than Kane. Arenvald. I know people like this character, and maybe I missed something, but I don't get him. Like, he is the Echo and stuff, right? But he's not like a... I don't know, it feels like he hasn't been utilized as a character. He feels very forced on us. Yeah, I don't know, I would honestly put him as low as a D. This might be like controversial, but I liked Gabu before he had a voice. I don't like his voice. I'm not sure if Gabu's meant to be like a grown up thing or he's meant to be a child or what. I guess he's meant to be a child. I don't know, man. Like, he's kind of just this little rat. Like, Gabu and Halric are pretty much the same to me. I'm kind of opinionless on Gabu. Gaius, our boy. No, he didn't have a major role to play in much of the main Shadowbringer stuff, apart from the Garlemald scenario there, but he did have a lot to play in the Sorrow of Wurlit, and I really loved that we got a lot more of him. I would put Gaius probably, for this expansion, I would put Gaius probably in the same kind of level as Lena, maybe even a little bit higher, honestly, because we got a lot more of him. Like a lot more of an explanation about the kids, about all of that stuff was just really just added to his character. I wasn't entirely sure about the whole like, oh yeah, he's back kind of thing after the Ultima stuff, but we got over that, and I like how they tied that back in. And I don't know how he's going to play into Endwalker. I guess we're going back to the Garlemald stuff, so he might play a bigger role heading into that expansion. But again, we will have to see. And speaking of Garlemald, for the vast majority of the expansion, he was lurking about the shadows there. We have the leader of the edgy boys in Estinian, who is now officially a Scion, which I really liked, and I'm happy that he finally came around and did that. We didn't get a huge amount of character out of him. We had the same, you know, tropes, shadowy, Azure Dragoon, disappears whenever the hell he wants kind of shit. Yeah, I think he's on par with Kryl, honestly. I wasn't super impressed with Estinian this expansion. I always want to see more out of him, even after like Stormblood. It's just, it never came. It never really happened that much. He was literally in the Endwalker trailer, so I think we get more out of him. I hope he's not just used as like a, you know, eye candy. But yeah, on to our final three. In relation to Estinian, we had Tiamat. Now, Tiamat's story was always really, really good. Just generally the idea of the dragons and the Allagans and how they enslaved them or imprisoned them at least, and how that related to coils and everything. Ever since I first saw Tiamat there in Azizla, I was mind blown at how it all connected. And I still am. I think it's a really great thing. The whole Bahamut part of it. Can't really rate Tiamat that much higher, but I do really like the ideas behind it. And maybe we get more of that. As we head into Endwalker, we have the rather eccentric Fandaniel, which is a very big change from the other villains that we've had. Feels very like a Joker kind of character, right? Wants to see the world burn, chaos, doesn't give a shit, wants to go down with the ship. I kind of like it. It's a little bit of a like breath of fresh air to have a character that's not like super serious, though maybe he is, in the sense that he's got a lot more to him that is yet to be uncovered. That big like spiky tower thing, I don't know what the heck that's about. I think Fandaniel currently is like roughly in the same kind of area as Hythlodaeus, because I don't know enough yet. Like, I like his personality, I like what they're going for with him, but I just don't know enough yet. So I can't really put him much higher than where he is right now. But yeah, that brings us to our final character. The man himself, the other boy, the juicy boy. How did we get him back? I don't know what to make of Xenos. Is Xenos an Ashen? Is he something more? I have so many questions as to the whole meanwhile in Garlemald shit, but already I love him for Endwalker. Before we've even gotten there, Xenos has a very menacing quality to him, despite his like laid back nature. I think that's part of it. He's kind of like a primal animal who just kind of sits and bides his time. You're always fearful that they are going to like, bam, like launch themselves at you and like rip off your head kind of thing. He can do that. So I feel like we're yet to see that. And I'm not sure how that's going, what form that's going to take or anything. I'm really excited to see his character going forward into Endwalker, but I have a really tough time placing him. I would say that he's higher than Uri. I would honestly say that this is kind of accurate, placing him here. I think in an A for now, right? Until we see more of him in the next expansion, I'm gonna leave him there. Also, he from some of the cutscenes, that boy needs to fucking wash his hair. This guy hasn't washed in years. He's just been waiting. He's gonna do the big wash and condition shower, the works, before we have our final battle. I just know it. That's pretty much it. Like, I think this being the final thing of Shadowbringers that I really have to do, aside from like Ballsy and all that stuff, I love this vibe of like the apocalypse is coming, the impending doom. It's inevitable. I'm really, really looking forward to it. And I hope you guys are as well. I want to say a big thanks to everybody for watching through the whole expansion with me. It was just thoroughly enjoyable. And yeah, all right, boys, that's it. That's Shadowbringers. Done, dusted, over. We are now Endwalker gamers. I'll see you guys in Endwalker. Look out for episode 1 coming real soon. See you guys then. Take care. Peace.